Absolutely. A winner will be joining the other 128 runners at a 2-0 record. And here we go. And the uncle claiming that this seed is the worst. So we should have some fun in store for our runners.
Well, no sword opening today, and I'm still disappointed because I haven't seen that, but I'm gonna say those silvers are really nice.
Yeah, no sword, but I'm sure they'll take that as a nice secondary option. An early check from Kova, and it looked like all light world dungeons are going to be standard crystals. Very nice, interesting little opening there. Let's see if we get a bow to go along with those silver arrows from the uncle here and from the opening weapon.
Oh, I would love to see a very early bow here and just go straight to Eastern after the escape.
We're about to check here, and it is the bow. We have a early as possible silver arrows for our runners.
This is going to be the safest and possibly the fastest escape we've seen outside of these mirror stars. And also finding 3 bombs in that chest. This seed is lovely for both our players.
I strongly disagree with the uncle. This seed does not seem like the worst in any respect thus far. If this is going to be the worst seed, we're going to have some major trolling going on following this escape, I would think.
Well, maybe it's the worst for the uncle, and for our players, they're just taking everything right now that they can get.
Well, he did have the bow pilfered from him, so it's got to be kind of rough from the uncle's perspective. But anyway, going forward here, we have our runners just doing the standard escape here, which should be definitely accelerated with the silver arrows at their disposal. Every potential obstacle is going to fall in one well-placed shot, such as this blue guard.
Oh, and even finding 300 rupees there, which is fantastic for that early Kakariko visit for the bottle merchant and potentially buying some bombs if they don't find any more.
Indeed, with silver arrows, 300 rupees, bombs, you couldn't really ask for practically anything else. At this point, you're just, I mean, it would be greedy, but maybe some early progression items like a glove, maybe the moon pearl just to get that out of the way. But honestly, there's nothing to complain out from this. We do have the book in the vanilla boomerang position, so that could open up a Desert Palace access, which we do know is a crystal.
Speak of progression, you get progression. That seems to be what this seed is telling you right now, with both Eastern and Desert looking like possible early game plays. And it's gotta feel so satisfying to kill that ball and chain guy with just a single shot. Goes in, opens Zelda's chest for 20 rupees.
Kova picking up that blue rupee drop from the guard there, so he does have the slightest of rupee advantages, but just by 5, not really significant at this time. Kidofseph having a few more arrows at his disposal, but otherwise these runners are practically equal to each other.
Yeah, these differences are so minor, they don't really matter at this point in the seed, and there is always that random loot that's always gonna pop up to change these back and forth.
So as our runners are progressing through the escape sequence, Kova about a screen ahead of Kidofseph at this moment. We're really gonna be interested to see where these runners potentially diverge now that they have this many potential early game options after they would presumably take care of Kakariko Village. So we'll see. They have, like we said, we have Desert Palace live, we have Eastern Palace live, minus a lamp right now, but they could still definitely clear it if they are good enough at clearing dark rooms. So we'll see how this progresses here going forward.
And with the early Lost Woods here prior to Kakariko, we could actually see a super early pedestal check.
That would definitely be interesting for sure. And with however, all 3 pendants would be in the Dark World, so that might possibly limit any potential pedestal rewards, but they could certainly get that out of the way if they wanted to go and do that with the book already in their possession.
Players have a good tendency to go and check out Lumberjack, just to see what is there, whether or not the Aga one is going to be required or not. The pedestal could be very similar in that, but it gives that information for some dungeons.
Absolutely. No very difficult to undervalue that peace of mind. So we have Kova entering the penultimate room of the sewers here. Going to see if he can kill that rat. Oh, tries a couple of shots there and misses, giving a little trouble there, but that rat is down and gets his final key.
Yeah, the rat movements can be a bit erratic, and always have to adapt yourself to how they are moving around, and there is a little bit of a delay when you're using the bow and arrow.
Erratic indeed. Very nice. Kova now entering the left room of the sewers to see what the 3 chests we have: a bottle, sick kid now available, a heart container, and the map. So that sanctuary chest will need to be checked now that we have the map in our possession.
And this bottle just keeps on helping our players to really have absolutely everything they need for this early Kakariko, with the exception of the Bat Cave and the library. But you don't technically assume, or usually assume, that you will have access to all of those one-off items in Kakariko. And Kova finishing in just a little bit more than 6 minutes. Gonna check the sanctuary chest for an arrow capacity upgrade.
Kidofseph following suit, and Kova has now left the sanctuary and appears to be on his way to the Lost Woods area, which is the standard routing, of course.
And Kidofseph, he is delaying this a little bit for us, but he's also taking the same path, and Kova is opting to check this lumberjack location first.
Let's see if we see some tree pulls here from Kova.
Seems like he wants to pull, and full magic is not the worst.
And picks up the 20 rupees from the jelly there. Let's see if we get a pull on the crab here. Crab dropping some nickels.
It's more than one, but you do prefer to see a 20 or something along those lines. And here at Lumberjack today, we will see vanilla.
So Aga currently not in the cards, but depending on how the progression items are sprinkled throughout the light world, that may be in play later. But judging by how much progression we've seen so far, that would be quite surprising.
We have seen a lot of Aga seeds this tournament, so I would never rule that out until we know for sure that we have that Dark World access. And thus far, they haven't actually gotten a single item that is leading them there. DC 20 rupees for Kova, and Kidofseph's gonna pick up this big heart and check the pedestal.
We do have a pedestal check indeed coming from Kidofseph here, and let's see what Kova decides to do. He elected to go into the Thieves hideout first before the mushroom spot. Kova now going to the mushroom spot, maybe in preparing for a pedestal check. Yes, that is indeed what is going on, and we have Kidofseph, and he looks like we have the magic cape at the pedestal.
That could be required depending on what is on the bumper cave when they get that Dark World access. You imagine they will check that really soon when they get Dark World access.
Our runners now will be heading to Kakariko Village following their respective pedestal checks. Kidofseph now going into the hideout to collect his 20 rupees as well.
Now, players are a little bit low on bombs for this Kakariko, but with all that rupees, I would not be surprised if they're gonna spend some of that to buy a 10 of them.
Certainly, they have just enough to bomb the well and Blind's hideout, which would leave them at 0, assuming no bombs are collected in either of those places, which gives them the maximum amount for their 50 rupees.
He's starting off here in the well with a small little 20. And in this deep in chest here, we do see a third big heart of this seed, as these seeds tend to be very healthy and generous in that regard. Well, there are some very nice bombs to pick up, and an air capacity upgrade, and finishing up with a piece of heart.
And we'll see what's in Blind's hideout here from Kidofseph, where Kova will be heading to as well. And let's see what we have here once these blocks get pushed out of the way. We have just 20 rupees, 5 rupees, another 20, and 10 arrows. So 45 rupees and 10 arrows, not what you're looking for. Let's see if the back of the well has, or the back of the hideout rather, has anything better. We do have the ether medallion, so maybe that's a little something better than what those first 4 provided.
It could be required later on, but once again, we have to wait and see if that is needed. And even then, that is our first item this seed that actually uses magic, which is quite handy since they did get that full magic pickup.
Yeah, we have 3 pendants in the Dark World, so there is a pretty decent chance that only 1 or possibly 0 medallions will be required to progress through this seed. We'll have to see what those crystals are when we eventually get a Dark World check. We need to get to the Dark World first, of course.
And we're still missing every single item on the way to our Dark World access and getting robbed there by the bottle merchant.
And let's see what we have at the chicken house here.
Doesn't get the clip, but he is gonna get the chest, and the chest is gonna give him 50 rupees.
Hey, a free 10 bombs from the chicken house.
That seems like a fair trade. But Kova is first opting to check Kid, possibly hoping he finds some more bombs if he is gonna go and buy. Kid today is gonna give our first item for Dark World access, that is the Power Gloves.
A very nice find from the Sick Kid here. Let's see what the tavern has to follow up that. Just another 10 arrows. 10 silver arrows, mind you, but 10 arrows all the same. Let's see if Kova now decides to buy his 10 bombs. No, does not. Elects to go ahead and forego purchasing his bombs and going straight to the library and the race.
And this could be a bit risky, because he's not going to have enough bombs for all of the other item locations that are available to him. We do only see a single rupee in the library. But those 2 bombs, it's Mini Moldorm Cave and Ice Sword Cave, then he's not going to have enough for Agena and for Sahasrara, so that could be some issue. He's also taking a bit of a risk here using the bomb here.
Yeah, absolutely. Not buying the bombs and doing a blind race check seems rather ambitious, but we'll see if it pays off for Kova here. Kova now left with just 1 bomb at his disposal.
Kidofseph checking the library, and Kova here is going to see the mitts!
Never mind, that was a pretty well-invested bomb, all told.
I mean, that has to be the fastest mitts I've seen this tournament. 12-minute mitts.
So now Kova just needs the Moon Pearl for Dark World access.
That is indeed true, but without that hammer or doing Aghanim, they won't actually have access to the Palace of Darkness area in the Dark World.
Certainly not. Let's see what Kova now heading south to the dam location. See if what those 2 locations have to provide here, while Kidofseph is now collecting his Titan's mitts with a 1 second faster race of time than Kova.
Every little piece matters. 20 rupees in our first chest here at the pond. Kova could also decide to do a bit of a diversion here and just head straight over to Desert instead of doing the Mini Moldorm area. We'll also be interested to see if Kidofseph decides to do that. Meanwhile, the spawn here does have yet another big heart.
And Kova does elect to take that health offered to him, and it looks like Kova will proceed to the Mini Moldorm Cave. Those 5 items, they're hard to pass up, I suppose.
Yeah, there's a lot of items over there, and players often tend to just have this standard basic route that they like to do in the early game because they feel quite safe doing that. So major route diversion in the early game isn't really that common unless you get Dark World access when you're already in Kakariko.
Oh, and a critical bomb drop from that first Mini Moldorm there. Kova will definitely pick that up and finish off the remaining of the Moldorms here on his way into those 5 locations.
Got some nice snipe there on the Mini Moldorms. He's gonna find himself with a bomb capacity upgrade, a piece of heart, a second bottle, this one with a bee inside of it. Oh, and there's our Moon Pearl for Dark World access and 20 rupees.
Let's see if Kova continues to in the southern Hyrule locations since he is here. Is he going to go ahead and proceed to the Ice Rod Cave?
Could also potentially fake flipper here with this Moon
Absolutely.
Pearl and have 501 rupees for Zora. Chris here is having some problems hitting these Mini Moldorms with the bow and arrow. Also gets a very nice bomb drop because he also decides to skip out on buying that.
Kova needs to exercise extreme caution here. 1 hit from these crabs will spell his doom. Avoiding them so far, and it looks like he will be able to check Ice Rod Cave.
Yeah, he got some good RNG on the movement there. And this Ice Rod Cave will yield 3 bombs.
For a non-progression item, not really bad considering Kova only had one bomb to his name prior to that pickup here. Electing to continue play here, he needs to, and he voids the crabs once again. Very, very nice. Looks like a potential fake flipper now from Kova coming up.
There is little reason to not make a fake flipper if you're deciding to move back here from this route. It's going to be interesting to see just how many item locations he is going to check.
Without the sword, Kova trying to get the setup here.
He's having some problem doing it, and it is quite finicky since it is a 1 pixel window.
Absolutely, but Kova eventually gets in there, and let's see. Looks like we're going to check the island first. Fairly standard, and probably going to jump right back down to that warp. We just have a shield at the Lake Hylia Island location. Kova going to go ahead and check the hobo as well.
And Kid is safe quitting after Ice Rod Cave. He's not going to make this sequence break. And to me, this seems like he is heading into the Dark World.
Let's see what the hobo has in store for Kova. It's not a bottle. In fact, it is yet another heart container.
It's always nice to pick up some hearts in the early game. Can't really complain about that.
Now Kova is trying to fake flipper again and pulls it off after the 3rd jump. Very nice. And he will now be going down to the warp point to get the waterfall chests and activate the walk-on water glitch and presumably see what Zora's domain has in store.
And it's going to be interesting to see how Kidofseph is going to route this Dark World with this pedestal knowledge, but also the lack of a sword.
Absolutely. And Kidofseph had just checked the Light World dungeons prior to entering that Dark World warp, so he now learns the locations of those 3 crystals in the Light World, but is proceeding through the Village of Outcasts at this time.
Gonna start off here with this chess minigame. He's gonna find himself with 20 rupees. Meanwhile, this waterfall, 50 rupees and a big heart.
And onward to Zora we go. Meanwhile, Kidofseph walking past the Thieves Town location and will dive in there swordless, presumably to check the first floor. No, he's just goes right back out.
I think he has checked the audio to figure out which, if it's a dungeon. Oh, it's a crystal or pendant.
Ah, very nice.
Since he hasn't done a map check yet, that is a pretty fast check for 1 dungeon, but it still feels a bit weird. 300 rupees in that 1 chest for him, and let's see what Zora has in store for us today.
It is the first sword, and 500 rupees for a sword. When you're swordless, that seems like quite the fair trade.
Oh, I absolutely agree with that, and that is not a sequence break because they do have those gloves, so it's going to be a very nice pickup for Kova heading into the Dark World. Or just head to Sahasrahla instead, that also works.
Certainly, and potentially a routing. Okay, we do have a Dark World check. The red crystal was at Pod, and that's unfortunately all I really had the time to check.
The pendants were Turtle Rock, Mystery Mire, and Swamp. Green was Turtle Rock.
So that means no medallion will be required, nor will the Ice Rod, with Turtle Rock and Mire both not being pendants, at least from the outset. There's potential that with some trolliness, that some things of those could be required, but initial check would seem not to be.
And the important item here is actually the Cane of Sumaria not being required potentially at all, but there is still that risk that the big King Ganon's tower is on the east side.
3 crystal dungeons in the Light World, Mire and TR being pendants. This has definitely the makings of a rather accelerated seed.
Everything is speaking to that right now. Still missing a lot of really important items, like that hammer, like that... Well, not flute, I was gonna say that, but the fire rod. And the flippers is needed for Ice Palace, but technically they can't skip that.
Kidofseph proceeding through Thieves Town and electing not to death warp, it looks like. It looks like he's just going to walk out the old-fashioned way.
It's still a bit of an interesting play in general going in here without an actual weapon outside of the bow. Kid here checks his first chest, finds the big key in Eastern in a rather convenient location. It's also interesting to see him actually dipping into Eastern this early on. It just tells me he's very confident in his dark rooms.
Absolutely. We'll see if that goes to the test if he elects to go all the way and try to fully clear and complete this dungeon, or if he'll just be satisfied with collecting the 3 chests. But in any case here, we have him going to the second chest of your Eastern Palace clearing, and we have a shield.
And based on information, that is the second shield that we know of. Kidofseph is now doing this rather annoying digging game. A big heart is not the worst thing in the world. And Kidofseph may be... actually, he is not making a frog tour here, which I almost assumed he would, but he's skipping out on that and just making this regular path here to check Zumpy and then head into Hype Cave.
Absolutely here, and we have Kova now. We'll be checking the big key chest. I didn't catch what that item was just a moment ago. Apologies.
I missed that as well, but we do see the map in the big chest. Kova's gonna navigate these dark rooms, which is a bit easier to do with that sword since it technically lights up the path for you. Kidofseph now approaching the Hype Cave.
Well, we had a lot of hype so far. Let's see if the Hype Cave can follow up on that. Let's see if we can get some progression items in here. All right.
Gonna start this off with just a piece of heart. Moving in, we will find a hook shot that's massive, a single green rupee. And another sword and a piece of heart. That's a pretty Hype Cave.
Absolutely. Hookshot, a critical item. Kidofseph immediately mirroring out, or quitting rather. Perhaps gonna check the, go to a Death Mountain potentially now that he has that hookshot. We'll see.
And meanwhile, Kova finds the most important item of the sea, the bug catching net.
So much swag potential now unlocked for Kova, a critical find for him with that net in his possession, and he is going to attempt to access the Armos Knights without the benefit of sight.
Using ether strats in this room, I've not seen this one before. I heard the sound of a key, I see the key on the UI, and now just hope that he can proceed through this room.
Looks like he is being blocked by the other Igor of this room. Meanwhile, Kidofseph doing his own blind progression here, going through Death Mountain. A little bit simpler of a room to navigate versus Kova, but it looks like Kova is through and will be proceeding on to the Armos Knights.
And this sequence break for Kid is just going to yield a piece of heart for now, but that hookshot gives him access to the eastern areas.
Kidofseph will be slowly advancing towards the Spectacle Rock locations. Going to check those 2 spots prior to presumably jumping right back down and hookshotting over to East Death Mountain.
The Spectacle Rock of the day will have 50 rupees. And the inside of the day will have, well, the blue mail. Meanwhile, we do have silver Armos, and that should be over in about 1 second.
And Kidofseph is going to go ahead and take the time to get that armor upgrade, while Kova has collected his first crystal at the 25th minute. That's crystal number 1 for Kova, and the first crystal collected in this race.
And that crystal is a sequence break. That lamp could actually be in a very annoying location in the seed, but if our players are still confident enough in their dark rooms, that shouldn't be an issue for them.
Kidofseph receiving that upgrade courtesy of Dr. Light, and will be progressing to the Eastern Death Mountain locations as soon as he navigates past these mini Moldorms, and onward he goes.
And we'll see now if Kova decides to finally make his mark on the Dark World, and that seems to be the case.
Now with the sword, Thieves Town is a lot more of a acceptable option for him. We'll see if he decides to route that in, or potentially even thread in a Skullwoods check potentially as he's entering the Dark World here.
Heading up to check the items in Skullwoods and then making that quick trick over to Bumper Cave just to ease your mind about that pedestal. I quite like that idea. He's making his own map check just to confirm what we've already seen from before. And Skullwoods it is.
All right, we're going to see the items from the Paradox Cave here. Kidofseph going to the 5 cluster check first. I guess he is assuming he's going to be falling down from this point. And we have a heart container, a piece of heart resulting in another full heart container, 20 rupees, piece of heart number 2, and piece of heart number 3. So a lot of health in that in those options, and Kidofseph is dropping back down, and we'll get these other 2 locations here momentarily.
Yeah, that was a lovely little cave there on Death Mountain.
And Chad is noting that he was out of bombs at the time, which is why he routed the way he did. I did not catch that. Big key for Kova for Skullwoods.
He did get a single bomb in that Moldorm cave, which is the reason he could check those 2 item locations, but he didn't find anything of value in there.
Kidofseph going to the Dark World here. I don't believe he routed the Spiral Cave prior to this, so that will be going unchecked at the moment. Meanwhile, Kova is attempting to bomb jump in order to access this the big chest here now that he has the big key, and gets there.
Had some trouble with that, but does get it, and all that work for just a map. He may take a Death Warp here. Ooh, he's not going to do that. That's a bit risky.
Looks like Kova's going to now do it. There he goes, and we'll get his health restored partially, which gives him a little bit more room to work with for checking the remainder of what he can in Skullwoods.
Oh yeah, he must have exited because he hadn't reset the restart location in the dungeon. And this Super Bunny Cave here with a bomb capacity upgrade and the flippers!
Major find there that puts Ice Palace a little bit closer to potential completion. Now they don't have the fire rod or the hammer or Bombo, so but they could get there now with the flippers in their possession.
And the flippers are still a sequence break because they don't actually have access to Death Mountain, and there's the quake in Lost Woods. What was on Turtle Rock?
Oh, I didn't catch it. I saw the quake at the same time. We'll see if we can get to the chat to help us out there. Meanwhile, Kidofseph now going to the Hookshot Cave. Kova falling to that Gibdo there. Will immediately reattempt to get that location here after that death. Meanwhile, Kidofseph now going to the Hookshot Cave. We have 20 rupees in item location 1.
And I see Hookshots across, item location number 2 with 10 arrows. Number 3 with 20 rupees. And finishing off this cave, there will be 20 more rupees.
Hookshot Cave falling a little flat there. Let's see where Kidofseph decides to go from here. It looks like he is trying to decide himself and is going to go ahead and save and quit. And we're now getting a Bumper Cave check. Let's see if this pedestal is going to come into play or not.
This is an extremely important item check, and it is the Boomerang!
Probably not going to see a pedestal grab at this point, I'm afraid.
I'm inclined to agree with you on that one. That is going to ease Kova's mind that he's going to make this trip into Village of Outcasts.
Meanwhile, we have Kidofseph. Looks like he's going to also be returning to the Village of Outcasts here, and we have a piece of heart in the Sea House for Kova.
I see the tracker marked Bombos for Turtle Rock, which is the medallion. We don't actually know where it is.
So that could mean that if they do not find Bombos at any point, that whatever they will be desperately looking for later in the seed will likely not be at Turtle Rock if that Bombos remains as elusive as it's been so far.
Thus far, there's still quite some item locations to check. We do have the entirety of Thieves Town, and with the help of that hookshot and flippers, they can get over to the pod area as well.
While Kova is getting his 20 rupees from the digging game, Kidofseph discovers the bloomerang at the bumper cave as well. And looks like we'll be also following Kova's steps into Thieves Town, or maybe dipping into Skull now. That appears to be the case.
A little bit of hesitation there for Kid, and Kova, he can check everything here in Thieves Town, except for that big chest because he does not have the hammer. He does have to be quite careful, though, with that low heart count.
Absolutely. One hit from these enemies walking around in their cardinal directions would send him right back to the entrance here. So at the very least wants to make sure he gets the 4 initial items before having that occur.
Now, one of the potions was a red potion, I believe.
Yes, that was one of the bottles that they collected, so they do have that at their disposal if they feel the need to top off their health.
And Kidofseph, having already visited Thieves Town from before, just head straight to the back area.
Kova going straight for the back of Thieves Town, electing not to Death Warp prior to doing this, so he is potentially risky here if he takes an unwanted hit here.
This hellway could be definitely a hell for him, but nice knowing of that pot there having a heart.
Hellway living up to its name for Kidofseph, but he gets through it and will be on to going up the stairs to bomb out the location needed to reveal the boss fight.
And Kova is not too far behind on this. Kova once again down to 1.5 heart, has to be very careful here in the hellway. Oh, he's taking out the red potion, he's playing this safe.
Absolutely, this is one of the worst places to take a death here, as you would have to just walk all the way back here. So Kova leaving nothing to chance in that regard.
Kidofseph found himself 3 bombs, and our players have been bomb-starred this seed, so I don't really think he's going to be that disappointed with finding that.
Absolutely not. Bomb drops are down there in the pots in that room, so if he did not find those bombs, he would still have the means of being able to reveal that location. But yeah, with neither of these players electing to purchase 10 bombs at their initial Kakariko visit, it's causing them to be a little bit starved for their explosives.
The only time that was really noticeable, though, was in the Death Mountain visit for Kidofseph. And Kova even opting to skip that one bomb there, or maybe he couldn't even get it because it was in such a weird location.
Kidofseph wisely stunning that enemy there before lifting up that stone, so Kidofseph avoiding damage there and electing to continue stunning the enemies here. Let's see what the stun reward is for this seed. It is 10 arrows.
And it's quite nice considering this extremely early silvers that they have available too.
And there's the hammer, almost vanilla hammer, but, or what am I saying? Not even close to vanilla hammer. I'm thinking of Titan's Bits, but that's the hammer for Kidofseph. That opens up a world of options for him now.
The hammer is a bit of a reverse, I guess you can say, with those myths, but regardless of what, that is a tremendous pickup for our players.
Kova collecting his hammer as well, and these players will be on their way straight to blind. Unable to get that, use their hammer at that location as they did not pick up a small key. So we'll see what blind has in store for Kidofseph here.
And Kidofseph still having his red potion, should be able to do this without any difficulties. Kova forgetting about that small key. Not everyone is fully aware of that, even hammers the door, but hammer has no impact on doors.
Kidofseph on to the final 3 hits of Blind here with 3.5 hearts. And dispatches him. Blind is down. Kidofseph will be collecting the Thieves Town Crystal and the Cane of Samaria as well.
Now that is not necessarily a good item for our players, because that could lead them into Mire or Turtle Rock later on in a situation where neither of them are required. Still, a Thieves Town with both Hammer and Cane? That seems like Blind has been a really good thief lately.
Absolutely, and despite him being a good thief, he falls rather quickly to Kova here. Kova now picking up his Cane of Samaria and his second crystal.
Now, what do you think about just heading straight over to Pod and finish that off with the hammer and the bow?
That certainly would make a lot of sense with their current loadout here. Kidofseph electing to check Skullwoods here, and we'll see where Kova decides to follow up his Thieves Town victory with.
He has the Frog World Tour item locations, he hasn't done the digging game, he seems to be opting for the hammer pegs for now. Kid really wanting to kill that Gib though. And as the hammers have been pegged to the ground, you enter the cave and you find 100 rupees, you say no, and then you exit the cave.
Kidofseph hook-shotting over to get his big key. Let's see if he elects to attempt the bomb jump across. Looks like the old-fashioned way to get that big key is what's on the cards for Kidofseph.
It's perfectly fine to do that. Once again, bringing up the bomb starvation should he miss that a few times. Go over here with this super hype digging game.
And gets his heart container after 17 digs. And we'll be on to further places here.
He may also just be heading over towards the Hype Cave. I'll Stumpy first and then heading to Hype Cave, and that's gonna give him his Master Sword and the hook shot.
Absolutely, Kova will be definitely pleased to find those locations. We'll see if he immediately threads a pod visit after this Hype Cave check.
That is an advantage for him, since he does have that hammer heading into this area. Kidofseph decided to save and quit after that Skull Woods visit. And let's see here, if he's gonna head back into the Dark World, he's... Where are you going? Oh, is he making the desert play now? That's interesting.
Absolutely. Interesting of note, Kidofseph not checking that rock with a 50-50 potential of a bomb drop. So may not hurt him too much, but that would definitely help his bomb starvation issues.
It could simply be that he is not familiar with some of the details for a lot of those 50-50 item locations in A Link to the Past. We do see Kova here with the Hype Cave.
Collecting, indeed, getting that Master Sword and his hook shot, and let's see if he has not quit, so presumably he is going to be utilizing his items to get Pod out of the way.
Could also first make a visit to the pyramid. Catfish is also an item location that is really awkward to check because it's so far out. Aegina's Cave with a big heart today.
Looks like we are going to, at the very least, see a pyramid check out of Kova here. Let's see what we have on that ledge.
Kidofseph may be opting to check the desert ledge before entering. And
we have the lamp for Kidofseph on the desert ledge.
And that lamp was available to our players very early on. And Kova is not dipping pod, and he is not going up to Catfish either. He's just saving quitting.
Looks like he's deciding to prioritize Death Mountain before either of those locations here. Based on what Kidofseph found, it's probably not going to pay out too well, but there were some locations that Kid did not reveal, such as the Spiral Cave, so maybe Kova might find some items there potentially.
And as for Kid, picking up this lamp could be the signal for him to head into pod after this. We also see that it's not boots locked because the compass was on the torch.
And we have the small key collected there in that back room, so we should see a big key in the next two chests coming up here for Kidofseph.
It's indeed true, and this lamp pickup for Kid is also going to be our first fire source for any lighting, so this also opens up Landmolas for him.
And there is that big key for Kidofseph. Let's see if we get one of the two items in this dungeon here. We just have 50 rupees.
They have enough rupees as it is, but it's always good to get those item locations out of the way.
It'll be interesting to see now that Kidofseph does have the flippers at his possession when he decides to thread in a Zora check to tie up the sword situation between these two runners.
Yeah, that is quite interesting. It can be a bit difficult to sometimes route in, but you imagine a save and quit to Link's house and then head there. On the other hand, being able to full clear a crystal dungeon by logic is always very attractive.
No question. Kova checking and seeing the armor upgrade and will make the time investment to collect it.
Just playing very safe, both are players sitting on 12 hearts with blue mail.
Kova saving and quitting, likely to go right back to the mountain cave to continue his Death Mountain surveying.
And Kidofseph here with the lamp. Also imagine Kova is gonna head all the way to Tower of Hera after doing this, since he did get that hammer.
Absolutely, Kova with a few more options at his disposal now with that hammer at his in his arsenal, so he could go ahead and thread in a Tower of Hera check. And with that lamp collected, or excuse me, he does not have the lamp, so he does not have a fire source, so a Hera check might be a little risky if the basement comes into play.
Which is really interesting to know, because by the logic, he should have the lamp by now, because it was accessible really early.
Indeed, we have Kidofseph navigating the final rooms prior to encountering the Landmolas. He will have the silver arrows to potentially accelerate that fight. And we have a Kova collecting his Paradox Cave items as well.
Silver arrows is the fastest strategy to go about with Landmolas, but aiming can be a bit tricky. He could also opt for a hammer, but he is going with the silvers. It's a very nice first kill, but the problem is after one arrow has been fired, you cannot fire another one until the first one disappears.
And Kidofseph just a little too early on that final shot, but gets it down with that second shot. 3 cycles for Landmo 1, and he is rewarded with just 10 arrows from Desert Palace and gets his second crystal as well.
And there's a lot of possibilities for Kid now. He could head into Eastern and clear that. He could go back up to Death Mountain, clear Tower of Hera. He could go into Pod and clear Pod. He could go into Ice Palace, clear Ice Palace. We essentially just need the Fire Rod right now.
Pretty much, and Kova, it looks like he is going to check Ether Tablet and thread in the Tower of Hera on his way out, it looks like.
Kidofseph is heading east. The book is out for Kova. And up in the air it goes, and...
Yeah, kind of the last thing you're looking for when you're down to just a single bomb anyway. So, nice to get that out of the way, and Kova will be heading right into Tower here and see what the two items are there, presuming he can collect them. If there's an item in the basement, he will not be able to get it. Assuming that the fire rod is not the other item, of course.
Seeing that small key there, you have to be a bit worried.
Very creative use of the Kidofseph there to get those two flips, and we have the magic powder in the lobby, and that's all he's going to be able to collect, as he cannot proceed in the Tower of Hero with the basement holding the big key.
That is very unfortunate for Kova, and it actually forces both of our players to make at least 2 trips up to Death Mountain.
Kova will now be going to the Spiral Cave, presumably, prior to warping to the Dark World locations of East Death Mountain.
Some good routing here for Kova. Kidofseph is going to take his time and finish off Armos for his 3rd crystal. And I just love watching Spiral Cave. It's so much fun.
Round and round it goes. Let's see what we have in the Spiral Cave for Kova here coming up as he takes the fall to the chest, which reveals just another big 20.
Yeah, it's not really what he's looking for. And he's gonna make the trip now into the dark side of Death Mountain. There's a fair amount of items he can check here. Item locations that Kidofseph has already checked.
Indeed, Kidofseph now checking the item locations in Eastern Palace at this time, getting the shield in the eastern location of Eastern Palace.
And of course, Kova's gonna be able to find his flippers there. He's gonna be quite happy seeing those there.
And that's going to really be the only thing of value Kova's going to be collecting here. As we know, Hookshot Cave is a pretty disappointing loadout of its 4 chests. Kova is like, let's see if Kova decides to see what the medallion for Turtle Rock is as well.
Yeah, we didn't quite get to see that last time. Our tracker spotted it as bombos, and always trust the tracker.
Absolutely. Very nicely done on the tracker's part. We want to thank our tracker Deuce May for helping us out here for this race. Thanks a lot for your keen vision.
And as Kidofseph is proceeding through Eastern, Pod seems like a very possible play for him following this. And as Kova save and quits, where will he decide to go now?
No shortage of potential locations that he could check here. It looks like he is electing to start at Link's house, potentially using the warp point heading to the east.
Is this the pod play we've been talking about for 10 minutes? He is still leaving out Desert where we know the lamp is. Gonna be interesting to see how he navigates those dark rooms.
Meanwhile, Kidofseph getting his bug catching net from the vanilla Eastern Palace big key spot. And with the lamp in tow, we'll have no difficulty in proceeding to the Armos Knights and dispatch them with some of his 45 solar arrows.
Kid here using the hookshot very well to navigate around Eastern.
And we do see Kova en route to the Palace of Darkness here with the hammer, with silvers, does not have the mirror, so we'll need to be efficient with his routing without the ability to immediately warp back to the entrance. We'll see how efficient he gets these items picked up from Pod.
Yeah, the mirror is such a vital and important item for routing around pod, because it's really difficult to make an optimal routing path without it. On the other hand, I'm not so sure our players want to see that mirror, since it does open up swamp.
And Kidofseph now entering the Armos Knights. Should be a rather quick fight here with these silver arrows. And down they go. Eastern Palace complete for Kidofseph. That is now crystal number 3 for him.
And for now, he does take that crystal lead. Kova finds the small key in that first chest, which is typically there.
And the lack of the mirror causing him to have to walk back here. Let's see if he immediately decides to go use that key into the lobby. Indeed, he does.
And Kidofseph is taking a path that very much looks like he is also going into pod. And with Kova having a sword advantage here, he will be able to clear this dungeon marginally faster.
Indeed, Kova picking up a key here, so he'll probably be going down here, bombing down and getting the big key chest and the location as well by the Stalfos is here.
Oh, won't you look at that? That's a vanilla location.
What kind of randomizing is going on here anyway? And the Pegasus boots for Kova as well.
And that opens up some more item locations, and that could also lead him towards desert after this. Of course, that is a bonk cave that is open, or whatever you want to call the cave next to Sanctuary.
Absolutely, and utilizing those boots right away to bonk those two bombable walls there, so he can preserve some of those bombs. That actually was a huge find for him. He did not have the bombs. He could absolutely collect them in the opening rooms of pod, but that no longer being necessary.
We've spent pretty much this entire race talking about Kova having to manage his bombs, and whenever he gets low on bombs, he either finds some bombs, or in this case, he just finds the boots. In that sense, I guess you could say that his bomb management has been perfect.
Certainly working out for him so far, and Kova bonking back, and to flip the switch. And we'll be leaving the room to reset the enemy location so he can jump across with no difficulty whatsoever.
And Kidofseph has also entered pod, and he will proceed through it and see which path he's gonna take here. Kova may opt to do a bomb jump on this bridge.
Checking the harmless hellway here, and we have yet another key, one of the 6 small keys you collect here in this dungeon.
It has a lot of nicknames associated with keys. That is Palace of Darkness indeed.
We see Kova still without the lamp, having to navigate one of the many dark rooms that the Palace of Darkness is known for. I mean, it's in the name after all.
There's bombos in that chest.
So that opens up Turtle Rock potentially now to the dismay of Kova, I'm sure.
Yeah, Turtle Rock is now open, but you can't really do much in there without any of the rods.
Indeed, Kidofseph now collecting his big key and the Pegasus boots soon to follow, and we have Kova now navigating the pod maze in the dark.
This is one of the hardest rooms to do in the dark.
Getting that first item with little to no difficulty, and it contains a heart container, and he is now on his way down the left side in a southerly direction to get the second and big key chest, hoping to avoid getting fired on the way, and it looks like he is having no difficulty. Hard to identify what he picked up there in the second chest. It didn't reveal itself, and we're on to the big key location.
It's noticeable that Nova has practiced these dark rooms before. And setting up this Death Warp here by taking a lot of damage from the fires. And we'll find 20 rupees in the big chest.
With a Death Warp surely soon to follow here, getting no help from the enemies, so he's going to have to take matters into his own hands. He now only has one bomb in his possession, though, so...
This is a really weird Death Warp you see here because of that low bomb count, but once again, Kova down to one bomb and gets the Death Warp.
Kidofseph not bonking and resetting the enemy count, instead chucking up one of his 3 remaining bombs in order to get the switches to his preferred positions.
And with Kidofseph having the lamp, he's gonna be able to clear these rooms without any real problem.
Most certainly. Kova now on his way to approaching the Helmasaur King here. Again, without the lamp, nice hammer dash there to collect some health, and we'll now be using the cane to depress this switch in order to proceed and to the Gorillas.
With Kidofseff's health count, I can't really see him setting up a Death Warp following this. Kova clearing these mimics without any problem whatsoever.
Without the fire rod nor the lamp, Kova's going to have to dispatch of the turtles in the upcoming room without sight. Let's see if he can get it done. He does have 11 hearts to his name, so he certainly has some health to work with, but we'll see if he can get this done.
Kova has definitely played on the edge in this seed, but this is definitely the toughest challenge thus far. And there we do see the additional confirmation. Kidofseph, they're picking up the bombos.
Kova now on to the room that we were discussing here. Let's see how it goes. There's one down.
Oh, I like these.
Looks like there's 4 down in that bombos usage, so there's 1 left.
He found it.
There it is, and it's down. Very well done by Kova. He will be proceeding on to the Helmasaur King after just a few more dark rooms to navigate.
And that was just really nice adapting to the situation, finding bombos inside of Palace of Darkness and already putting it to good use. So, 17 hits Kova with the hammer to break through this first phase on Helmasaur King.
He will most likely be following that up with a well-aimed silver arrow shot, and that will spell the end of Helmasaur King. And down he goes. That is Palace of Darkness completed for Kova. He will now be collecting his 3rd crystal as well. And let's see, we have just some bombs for Kova as well.
And now I believe we've gotten to the point where we don't need bombs. The kid is still going back and picking up a bomb he got from that turtle drop. And now you get to see how this room actually looks like when you have the lamp.
Just the fighter sword kid having to use the hammer to both flip and defeat the turtles, having a little bit of difficulty with that wonderful hitbox from the hammer, but much smoother completion with a lamp, turns out.
Smoother and faster. It's still a question of if he's ever gonna head to Zora to pick up that Master Sword. Go with something for a King's Tome check. Kidofseph proceeding here with the Helmasaur King. The King today only got some air capacity.
Yeah, with those, now that he has the Pegasus boots, Kova's definitely wanting to go ahead and get all of the boots locked locations out of the way, just to make sure that he is not missing any major progression items with those boots now in tow. We'll see the Bonk Rocks here.
Bonk Rocks into That cave looks quite appealing to me. Kidofseph meanwhile picking up his 4th crystal from a really good Helmasaur King fight. Bone Cave today, piece of heart.
And as we're approaching the hour mark in this race, the main difference between these two runners is in the sword situation. Looks like Kova is now going to be utilizing this warp. Very nicely done here. Is he going to be checking Ice Palace now?
Now, Kid's lamp is also very important right now because that allows him to beat Tower of Hera, though he does not know it because he hasn't gone back up there.
And Kova will be dipping into the Ice Palace with Bombos.
And that is always slow, but it may just be what you need to do this seed, and it is a crystal that he can full clear. And Kid here be checking out Hobo, and we hope that he will proceed to Zora after this and get himself his Master Sword.
You would think that's where he's going here. He's doing a map check there. It probably seemed like maybe a misclick there as he quickly got out of there. Kidofseph now exiting from the Hobo location. Meanwhile, Kova getting just 20 rupees in the first location of Ice Palace. So that's one of the 3 items in this dungeon already collected with just those 20 rupees.
And Ice Palace can be a bit of an issue to navigate if we're struggling with that bomb jump. And our players are now sitting quite acceptable at 9 bombs. Kidofseph is making the Zora play, and he's going to be very happy to find his sword in due time.
Let's see if Kova gets 2 for 1 on his bomb with these Stalfos Knights, and he does. Very nicely done.
And let us see here now for Kova as he's going to try and set up this bomb jump. First try, really? Oh no!
Oh, that is the worst feeling after doing a bomb jump that well to have to do it twice, but no big deal. Immediately does it. Once again, very well done from Kova, and he's through.
Kidofseph spending half his rupee count to get himself a blue shiny sword.
Kova electing to use 40% of his bomb reserves to get rid of those enemies there. Very well done, and we'll be on the way to the Freezor room. No, never mind.
He's making a bit of an adjustment here, and meanwhile, Kid is making a play up here now to Death Mountain, and to me, this looks like a Spy Cave visit. Or maybe
not.
He may have thought he had the mirror and wanted to head to Tower of Hera.
That seems very plausible. Instead, Kidofseph having to go the long way around will be hookshotting back over to the eastern side, and will be ascending Death Mountain from here and potentially heading from Tower of Hera from the east.
And he can clear Tower of Hera because it is fire source locked.
Now, if I'm recalling correctly, he did not check the Spiral Cave in his initial Death Mountain visit here. So let's see if he does indeed head to Tower of Hera, if he remembers that and checks the Spiral Cave once completing it.
I do recall that as well. I didn't quite see what Kova found in that chest. It did look like a piece of heart or something like that. Speaking of big keys in vanilla locations,
we do see an ether tablet check for Kidofseph as well. It will not be happy to get the bomb upgrade that it contains, but good to get it out of the way regardless. And we'll be entering Tower of Hera there right after that. Meanwhile, we have the compass for Kova in that chest.
And he's got the big key, so he's going to be able to check 2 rather quick item locations here.
very good use of the hook shot there to line yourself up to descend down those stairways. It's very difficult to get the lineup in with these ice physics otherwise.
Small key, just in that small chest there. He's actually setting up this bomb jump here. Has he found all 3 items? I don't think so.
Well, seeing that he looks to be going to the iced tea room here, I would assume not.
This is not a route in Ice Palace that I'm very familiar with. Meanwhile, Kidofseph is going to go AFK a little bit. And there's the map for Kova.
Ice Palace replete with potential routing decisions. It is very awkward to route efficiently. There could be any number of variations of your routing depending on what keys you have, what items you have. There's any number of possibilities with the Ice Palace bomb jump. There's any number of ways you can go about here. Kova now using the hook shot to get past those blocks and collecting 20 rubies as a result.
Kidofseph has finished being away from his keyboard, or controller, hopefully, and is gonna be able to get himself his big key, and Sally has to walk all the way back up.
Meanwhile, Kova descending into the Cold Stare arena here with will be activating the fight with the use of the bombos here, and we'll see if he can dispatch Cold Stare here with the Master Sword.
Really wants to get Cold Stare up in that top right corner. Just keep on whacking on them as much as you can before they start to spread all over the room.
And Kova getting that done indeed, getting a few hits on all 3 of them before they spread out. And now using the hammer providing Temper Sword levels of damage. Kova did take a hit there from Cold Stare, so he's now down to 5 hearts. Needs to be a little careful now.
He does a lot of damage. He's only sitting on blue mail. Takes another heart there from those icicles that drop. 1 is down, 2 left. Down to 3 hearts now. Has to play this very safe. He has no form of healing available to him and no invulnerability items either. But there goes the second one.
And Cold Stare is down. Very well played by Kova, and we'll be collecting the Fire Rod.
That is just so awful. I guess Uncle was right in the end that this was going to be a bad seed.
So that is Crystal for Kova. That opens up Skull Woods, which is the other fairy dungeon. So maybe he'll prioritize that and go straight to Skull Woods now with that Fire Rod in his disposal.
He won't do that because he is actually in go mode.
That is absolutely correct. Pardon my inability to recognize that. Kova in go mode now, and we'll be heading straight to Desert Palace.
So I think it's going to make the path of Desert, Skull Woods, and then Tower of Hera last, since it is up on Death Mountain.
So at 1 hour, 8 minutes, Kova achieving go mode here, and it's just a matter of completing these remaining dungeons and getting to Ganon's Tower and putting the finishing touches on this thing. This indeed was quite the jet seed.
And Kidofseph did finish off Moldorm without any problem at all, and he's now going to take a much faster check here in Spiral Cave, but he has to head to Ice Palace.
Absolutely. Ice Palace is the critical dungeon here, containing the last remaining item for go mode. The sooner Kidofseph gets to Ice Palace, the better his chances are of remaining in contention in this race.
And if Kova does feel like picking up the lamp, he does have that opportunity here. Wait, Kidofseph, what are you doing? Are you making a play into Turtle Rock?
I am Not sure. That could be what is happening here, but he is certainly heading in that direction.
Well, if that is the play, then that will just put a rock in the coffin.
Kova now collecting the big key, and yes, we have Kidofseph activating the entrance to Turtle Rock, with presumably an entrance to follow. This is quite an ambitious play from Kidofseph. Unfortunately, we know it is not going to pay out the dividends he's looking for.
That is sadly true. This is a seed where you do not have to visit a single pendant dungeon. Now what we can hope here is that this is fire rod locked. If there is no small key in this first chest, he cannot continue.
That would certainly be to Kidofseph's benefit at this point, to try to minimize the damage that this play would cause otherwise. Meanwhile, Kova collecting his big key for Desert Palace, and let's see if he decides to check the ledge here and get the lamp. At this point, not really much use for the lamp at this point. He's done everything that the lamp could otherwise provide for him, but he will go ahead and pick it up and proceed on to Landmillis.
It's some nice magic preservation over in Turtle Rock, in Ganon's Tower, and Kidofseph found the big key in Turtle Rock, and he is out, and this to me looks like Ice Palace.
A nice assist from the seed at this point, gently nudging Kidofseph out of Turtle Rock and to the location he really needs to be at, which we know thanks to Kova's already having cleared it.
And Kid is, in this case, actually ahead of the crystals. He only has to finish Skull Woods after this, but it's still a long dungeon. You have to bombos all the way through it, and you imagine Kid is going to full clear.
You would have to assume so, with that fire rod being the last possible location you'd want to check when you route efficiently. He is going to check everything beforehand before resigning to defeating Cold Stare for that final third item, which will be the fire rod. Meanwhile, we have Kova entering the Landmo fight here with Silvers, missing the first shot. So there's the first one down.
Let's get a nice second one there, but that was a very short jump from the third. Despite some weird hitboxes in my eyes, that is going to be his 5th crystal. Only 2 remain for Kova.
Now, runner's still on the Master Sword here, so unless we find a sword upgrade either in Ganon's Tower or dropped by one of the bosses, which we might see some spinning to get Ganon defeated.
That is true, and I would not be surprised if our players are going to check some additional item locations in Ganon's Tower to try and find that Tempered Sword.
Kova making a dash towards Skull Woods here. That is the second to last crystal he needs to collect prior to going up to the Tower of Hera and finishing out his crystal collection. Meanwhile, we have Kidofseph bombing out these Stalfos Knights here prior to a potential Ice Palace bomb jump from him as well.
He's sitting on 11 bombs, which is a good number. Gives you a lot of tries if you decide to go for that. Meanwhile, Kova is just going to head straight to the back of Skull Woods to have a little bit of a visit with good old Mothula. Kid is not going to do the bomb jump. And to me, this is a clear tell that he is going to full clear this dungeon.
Kova picking up that key in the upper left corner there, so he can go straight to Mothula without having to defeat the Gibdo in the penultimate room.
That's going to save a little bit of magic and also possibly some hearts. Kova is wasting no time here, just wants to get these rooms away as fast as possible. No magic preservation here.
Kova not even picking up the magic in that pot. They're going straight to Mothula, wasting no time. And here we go.
He's bringing out the hammer to try and get some additional damage off, but it's a bit tricky to get close enough for the hammer. And Mothula is not being very nice with this position either.
And down goes Mothula for Kova. That is crystal number 6. Collecting the compass as well. Quite forgettable little detail there. And he'll be on to Death Mountain to the Tower of Hera and Ganon's Tower quickly thereafter.
Kid is moving through this ice palace, but you imagine in this situation that Kova has quite the lead.
No question about it. It's we'll have to see if potential Ganon's Tower big key positioning causes any sort of time gain for Kidofseph here, but Kova electing to utilize this warp point to...
Oh, he's going to buy potions.
Yeah, that's what appears to be the case here. Going to stock up on some potions here for a little bit of insurance here to avoid any potential unwanted deaths in Ganon's Tower or to Ganon himself.
I've not seen that path taken before to head over here. Usually I see you start in Sanctuary and then you just dash away. And Kova releases the bee to get some more blue. And with the bee being free, Death Mountain it is.
So Kova ideally is going to want to warp to the Dark World and then mirror right in front of Ganon's Tower so you can get to Hera, complete Hera, and have that portal nice and easy right there at your entrance so you can just get out of Tower Hera and walk right into Ganon's Tower.
And he's going to use the Turtle Rock teleport for this. Presuming that is what he decides to do, and I think Kid has checked every single item location in ice and is now heading to Cold Stare.
Red Jelly there being a little bit of a gatekeeper, and it looks like Kova is just going to go straight to the Tower of Hera, not electing to get a Dark World portal collected beforehand.
His mind right now may just be, I need those crystals. Doesn't care about anything else. He just wants the crystals as fast as possible.
Certainly, when you get a go mode this quickly, you can definitely fall prey to a little bit of tunnel vision there. I am no stranger to that, that's for sure.
You also have to imagine in what position your opponent is, considering the item locations. Kidofseph now entering Cold Stare using bombos on this first phase. And he is going to try and get it into the other corner, and he got about the same number of hits as Kova did.
Kidofseph not electing to equip the hammer, understandably. Hammer is a little bit of a riskier. There he goes slashing away at some of these at Cold Stare here. And meanwhile, Kova not getting his break, although he is still taking damage here in preparation for an upcoming Death Warp.
That is going to save quite some time for him since he doesn't have to walk all the way back up. Kid here is still sitting a bit safe on the health count. First there goes down, there's the second one. Yeah, Kova is down to one heart, has to be very careful. And meanwhile, Kidofseph has finished off Cold Stare.
That was very close. Those Moldorms were right on Kova there, but Kova avoiding them and getting the big key and will be death warping. Meanwhile, Kidofseph successfully defeating Cold Stare, getting his Fire Rod and Crystal number 5.
That is actually crystal number 6.
Number 6, rather. I counting? What's that?
Blame the sun. Anyway, Skullwoods is his last crystal. You imagine he's heading there straight away.
We'll see if Kova decides to check the locations en route to Moldorm here in hopes of getting that tempered sword.
Kid is checking King's Tomb here, possibly just to see if there's a sword there, and then heading over to Wichita to buy some potions.
Nicely positioned dash from Kova behind that bumper there and is on to Moldorm.
Kidofseph is not going to pick up some potions. He's also going to check one Crux here. And with that, Kova has acquired his 7th and final crystal. And you know what time it is.
Absolutely. It's time to predict where Ganon's big key will be located amongst the 22 possible locations. Get your guesses in with the number between 1 and 22 as to which numbered chest Kova will reveal the big key in.
Oh, Kova getting deadlocked. Or deadlocked, whatever. I don't care. It's annoying.
And just barely avoiding a second blocking there. Gets past them and will be utilizing this Turtle Rock warp point to get to the Dark World so he can enter Ganon's tower. Meanwhile, Kidofseph getting his blue pots as well.
And after this, he is or has to head over to Skullwoods if he's gonna have a shot in this match.
Very nice hammer dash to get that Lionel out of the way for Kova, and he is now entering Ganon's tower at 1 hour, 22 minutes, and 15 seconds.
Kid, what are you doing?
Don't tell me he's going to dive into Turtle Rock now, again.
Oh, I have no idea what's going on in his mind right now.
Does he think Turtle Rock's a... Surely he doesn't think that Turtle Rock's a crystal, or that he's not in go mode. I am trying to understand the thought process here, but regardless, Kidofseph looks to be heading into Turtle Rock maybe now. Yes.
He must have completely misread the map. Or...
That appears to be the case.
He went in, he heard the music, and realized this is not right.
So we have Kova now entering there's the mirror at long last. So he can warp out of here once he finds the big key, which he does in the third chest of this room. Gets another small key and will be right out to ascend the tower.
That's a really good location for that big key, and he already has enough small keys to proceed through the tower.
So we have Kidofseph now rerouting himself to Skullwoods to get his final crystal, while Kova is now on his way to ascend Ganon's tower, on his way to Agnum 2 and to Ganon. Nice fairy drop from one of those Gorillas there. Kova definitely going to pick that up now and top off his health as he further proceeds.
Kova is still quite likely to check the chests on the upper parts of Ganon's tower to try and find that sword.
Kidofseph now entering the backside of Skull Woods on his way to rounding out his 7th crystal.
It's quite unfortunate here for Kid, just misremembering the crystal locations.
That may also explain his earlier attempt at Turtle Rock as well, without the fire rod. Get it in, and luckily for him, he was locked out, but still very unfortunate for Kid there to make that critical error in his routing.
That is something we may have to ask him in a potential interview following this race. Meanwhile, Kova is proceeding through this gauntlet, is having some trouble as the Master Sword doesn't one-shot these red enemies.
But eventually gets through. It looks like he will be utilizing the powder here to top off his health once again. That will cause these land mollusks to spawn all at once, so that may cause this Landmo 2 fight to be a little bit more difficult than it otherwise would be.
You get a very nice shot on that first one though. Meanwhile, Kidofseph is entering Mothula.
And using that fire rod to great effect is Kidofseph, and just a few more sword slashes with his Master Sword, and down goes Mothula.
Using the straightforward cane strats on these runes, it's very rare to be here without the cane, and this was even a potential seed where they may not have had cane here. Kidofseph even opting to go back into Skullwoods to check this final chest, likely to try and find that sword. And here's where the lamp really really helps for Kova. It's allowing him to preserve his magic a little. Kid is gonna find a piece of heart, not very happy to see that.
Meanwhile, Kova on to the 6th floor of Ganon's tower here. Just needs to light these torches while avoiding the collapsing floor. Does so very nicely. Has plenty of keys, so he will not need to kill any of these mini Helmosaurs. And we have the another big 20 and another small key. So just a couple more potential locations for Kova to check in hopes of finding that 3rd sword.
And the difference between Master and Tempered is quite tremendous on Ganon. It's gonna find ourselves our 3rd bottle, and that was a fair inside of it. That is very good to see, but it's not the sword.
Equipping the hammer in order to dispatch Moldorm here, but gets a spin slash in. There's another.
And at least one final chest here for Kova that he is very likely going to check and hope to see that 3rd sword inside of it, and it is just 20 rupees.
That's not the red pointy thing he was looking for. Instead, it's just another 20 rupees, and Kova will have to spin to win.
And phase 2 Ganon with all those Firebirds. Master Sword is not easy.
No, he does. We do have the silver arrows, as that's what was right from the get-go here, but he will need to do some well-positioned spin slashes at Ganon to get to where he can use those silvers.
Oh, definitely. Phase 2 is the real challenge here for this Ganon fight. Kid is now entering Ganon's tower, as Kova is getting some nice patterns here from Aga, but unfortunate blue balls.
And And a very nice double there to dispatch Aga 2 for Kova. Kova now onto the Ganon fight. We'll see if he is able to successfully defeat Ganon with just the Master Sword. If he has any difficulty, that could open the door for Kidofseph to make up some time and make this a race.
Kova has fully prepared for this fight with 2 blue potions and got the fairy in a bottle. And Kid is also going to the left side of Ganon's tower, and that is the right side.
So at the 1.5 hour mark, Kova now beginning to fight Ganon, while Ganon is providing a little bit of a biology lesson before this fight gets underway.
Kid finding the big key. He's got the mirror, but he may still want to check some additional item locations to try and find that tempered. No, he's going out now with the mirror, just checking 1 additional item location. Kova still spinning here on phase 1. It does take quite a while to get through this phase with only Master Sword.
And on to phase 2 we go here for Kova. Avoiding these fire bats here is absolutely critical.
You did see that damage. He's only sitting on blue mail, and Ganon hits like a truck.
Nicely well-timed hook shot swings there. Oh, still getting hit there by those fire bats there, utilizing those iframes that the hook shot provides. Needs to be careful though, he's only down to 4 hearts. May decide to utilize one of his potions here.
He does have the fairy as a good backup, so he may just decide to take that first, but the fairy does have a long animation, and he may think that Kid is right behind him. He's opting for the blue potion, playing it safe.
Re-equipping the hook shot to potentially utilize its iframes once again. And he is through phase 2, on to phase 3, and now needs to try and get those slash in to avoid fire bats. There we go.
Didn't quite get on the first one, and the fire bat managed to hit him, but he's now getting them in. Kid also opting to go and check on these fairies on Ganon's tower. The Silver Arrows were in the Light World. Yeah, Ganon conveniently placed them in Link's house.
Yeah, maybe Ganon's trying to tell us something with that simple placement, but in any case, there is a nice double from Kova. Just 2 more of those, and Ganon will be dispatched.
It's needed 1 4th and final hit. Does light the torch again, and we'll be able to get this final spin here for the final hit. Ladies and gentlemen, Kova46 will take home his 2nd victory in a row and go up 2-0 in this tournament. Good game, well played.
Congratulations to Kova, very nicely played. He finishes with an official speed racing time of 1 hour, 33 minutes, and 3 seconds. Very nice, very well done. Congratulations to Kova. We'll go to 2-0 in the tournament.
We do see Kid here, still proceeding through with this gauntlet, and we'll soon head into Landmolas 2.
It looks like we have Kova will be joining us here for an interview shortly.
Seeing some pretty standard Master Sword strats here for Kid on Landmolas. that Monas has successfully been taken care of by Kid, and then moving up to these wizrobe rooms.
And we are now joined by our winner, Kova46. Kova, very well played, and congratulations on proceeding to 2-0 in your tournament.
Hey guys, thank you very much. That was a really generous seed.
That is indeed true. What are your overall thoughts on that seed?
I mean, I've never started out with silver arrows. That was exciting.
Yeah, silver arrows and the bow right from the get-go, followed by the book. I mean, everything was at your fingertips in this seed right from the get-go, and with all the crystals in the light world, this had the makings of a quote-unquote jet seed, and it certainly seemed to live up to that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then I think the only thing that really surprised me, I mean, I kind of did it out of a sheer like, oh, if it's here, then that's great. But Fire Rod in Ice Palace.
It was definitely one of the more out of the ordinary dungeons, but how do you feel about never having to enter a pendant dungeon?
Oh, it feels amazing. That's like the best feeling you can have as a runner playing standard. I was a little bit worried when I saw pedestal was cape, but checking that as soon as you get to the dark world, like you can get those ped seed thoughts out of your head.
Absolutely. We have Kidofseph now just putting the finishing touches on his Ganon's Tower Ascension here, about to face Moldorm 2.
So how did you feel when going through Ganon's Tower? Did you feel like you were ahead or behind?
I felt pretty good when I found that Fire Rod and figured I would just clear out these overworld dungeons. Pretty much just don't do anything stupid, don't die. So I got some bottles, went into GT, but it's weird routing GT. Like you want to go right side first, but you also don't because you don't have the mirror. But then luckily I found mirror right with the big key, so that really helped.
Yeah, that was very, you couldn't ask for the mirror in a better location right there with the big key in tow as well. So preferably would have liked to have found a tempered sword on the way, I would assume, but you definitely handled Ganon without it all the same. So very nicely done all the same.
Thanks. Yeah, tempered was pretty much the only thing I was looking for at that point. Did we ever find any other sword upgrades?
We did not.
Kidofseph just about to enter Agatu here, and he also just has the Master Sword to his name. And both of you picked up the same swords as the others, so where those other two sword locations are is a complete mystery.
Ah, it's too bad. Maybe Bat or the Frog Sequence Pyramid, I guess. Trying to think, there wasn't too many overworld locations I didn't do. Agina's actually I avoided.
Yeah, Kidofseph went in there. I think that had a heart container if memory serves, but certainly not a sword.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that.
No, I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Going through that seed, I pretty much after doing Pod and Hair the first time, I just ended up playing it like I didn't have the lamp, but it was probably somewhere really obvious, which it ended up being on the desert ledge, but dark rooms were fun. I think I got really lucky in the turtle room in the basement of Pod.
Yeah, that Bombos application was very nicely done there, getting 4 out of the 6 in one Bombos usage there, and yeah, that was very nicely done. That was a slight variation. Kidofseph did pick up the lamp. I want to say around 40 or so minutes in, but didn't make that much of a difference with your dark room progression. So yeah.
If Meyer's on the table, I tend to stay away from doing it lampless, but luckily Meyer, T-Rock, and Swamp were all pendants, which that's probably the best combination to not have.
Well, we never actually found the flute, so Meyer was definitely off the table.
Meanwhile, we have Kidofseph taking a fall to Ganon here. See, I believe he picked up that fairy in a bottle. He did, so he will quickly fairy revive and continue on with his Ganon fight.
Now moving into phase 2, but this is a pretty awful pattern. Playing it safe here and using the red potion. How did you feel about going into Tower of Hera without a fire source?
Oh, that does not feel good. And immediately seeing that it was bit key in the basement, instant regret. That Death Mountain play, like I'm happy I did it because I ended up getting the powder and the blue mail, I believe, which made ice a lot easier. But as for progression, like there wasn't too much up there.
The flippers were up there.
Oh yes, you're correct. Actually, it was because of those flippers that I did ice. So yeah, I was wrong. It was very worth it to go up there.
Are you overall happy with how you routed the seed?
Oh, definitely. With the 130 time, you can't. I could never complain about that. I mean, I'm happy getting anything like under 2 hours.
Kidofseph taking a lot of hits here with that very unfortunate placement of Ganon there, and I'm not sure if he has any more potions at his disposal at this point.
Kid is playing this very safe right now. And here we go, phase 3.
You definitely want to get close in order to get him with these sword slashes, but you don't want to get too close. There's one more sword slash should end this phase and move on to Ganon asking, did you find the arrows? Well, of course, they were in his house. And let's see if Kid can activate the torch glitch. He does not, but let's see if he can't navigate his way to getting 4 well-placed shots in Ganon's face.
He still has a lot of magic and he's playing the safe, but the Ganon patterns are not being very kind to him. Was a really nice hit there though.
And there's
only one more.
Yep, 1 arrow left.
And number 4 has struck.
And Kidofseph has defeated Ganon as well, and has finished this seed, albeit in a losing effort, finishing with an SRTV official time of 1 hour, 44 minutes, and 21 seconds. Well played. Kidofseph now joining us. Very nicely done Master Sword Ganon fight there. And welcome to, and well played all round.
Thank you. Would you believe that that was my first time ever attempting a Master Sword Ganon fight?
Well, that was very nicely done. It took pretty much the entirety of your health resources to do it, but you got it done. And hey, not dying on your first attempt at a Master Sword Ganon, that is nothing to be ashamed of. That was very nicely done for a first attempt, I feel.
I was really impressed with this seed overall. I felt like everything was kind of just, I don't want to say straightforward, but everything was just in front of your face. Like the silver arrows in the beginning, and then I was like, oh man, it'd be nice if I got the bow from the uncle and not bombs. And it turned out to be the bow, you know?
Absolutely. The seed definitely starting out nice and ripe with those silver arrows with the bow to be able to utilize them. Now, I don't want to focus on the negative too much, but I have to ask about your Turtle Rock visits. Was that a misidentification of the crystals, or what happened there? If you don't mind going into that for us.
So the first time I was just dipping in there because I was up on Death Mountain already. I felt I might as well see what's in that first chest in case it's the fire rod. I don't want to have to trek all the way back up here after I exhausted, all other places that I could possibly find it. So I decided to dip in there first, and then the second time I did, I had misidentified it on my local tracker. I had clicked one too many times, and I had set swamp back, or I'm sorry, not swamp, Skull Woods. I set Skull Woods back to Pendant Plus, and I just identified that as Pendant Plus, and just immediately went there.
I see. Okay. Yeah, that was a point of curiosity at the time. We were trying to figure out exactly what had happened. We figured that with the immediate retreat, you probably heard the music and was like, wait a second, something's not right here. So
yeah, that's exactly what happened.
So how do you feel about your play? It seemed like you ratted this fairly decently, despite those Turtle-like visits. Any initial thoughts now that the seed is over and done with for you?
I would have liked to have known where those other two swords were, to be honest. When I got the book, I also felt early game it's worth a pedestal check just to see what's there. And when I saw the cape was there, I was a little nervous that this was going to, in fact, be a pedestal seed. But luckily, when I went to go check Bumper Cave and I just saw the Bloomerang, I was a little more assured that I would not have to go into too many pendant dungeons.
Well, for whatever it may be worth, your opponent, Kova, did not find any other swords than you did. You were both equal on the sword game there. So, and wherever those two swords may be, it is a mystery. There are a good, 13, 14 locations in those pendant dungeons. So maybe there was one buried there or somewhere in Ganon's Tower. We will never know. And as we're wrapping up here, if anyone's still watching, please feel free to give both of our runners a follow. They have both done very well in the seed and both deserve a little bit of a follow, if you so please. And I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, I suppose. I'll offer the floor to either of our runners here for any final comments.
GG to you, Kova. That was a great time. I was surprised when I saw that pop up already. And I was like, wow. I thought I was moving pretty fast through this thing, and then you must have had a very good run there.
Thanks, kid. You as well. Like, still 145 is a great time. It's all randomizer luck, really. So, GG's. And thanks to Speed Gaming, Feasel, Marjovic, CD, and Dusme for putting this on. And I don't know who's tracking. If you guys could help me out
that
there.
would be Dusme.
Oh, Dusme. Thank you very much. And thanks to everybody for watching. GG.
And thank you two for being so good at this game.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I, of course, would like to thank Kova and Kid for their wonderful performances. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to witness your play, and to Marjevich, thank you very much for co-commentating with me this afternoon.
Thank you very much, CDV. It's been a pleasure. And if you're still looking for some more Link to the Past Randomizer, we currently have 2 races going on right now. We have Phantom Ryu going up against the Dragon Fini on ALTTPR Randomizer 2. We also have BBB Kermit against Dragon CO on Speed Gaming 5.
And if you're interested in watching a race from the start, we have 2 races, actually 3 races, in fact, about to get underway. On the Speed Gaming channel proper, we have Ozapone versus Matt7898. On Speed Gaming 3, we have Zephyr Blaze facing El Magus. And on the ALTTP Randomizer channel, you will see Herfy Durfy versus Trank. So no shortage of options for your randomizer perusal this afternoon and for the remainder of this tournament thereafter.
And with that, I say thank you very much to everyone involved in this, for all the viewers, all the runners, and everyone else behind the scenes. Thank you very much for this tournament and putting us on for us. I've been Marjevich.
This has been CDV, and have a great weekend, everyone.